What is going on, guys? It seems like Jarrett Stidham isn't going to be leading the Patriots in 2020 after all. 3 months after free agency opened, Bill Belichick signed 2015 NFL MVP Cam Newton to a 1-year deal. This always looked like the perfect match on paper. Now it's a reality. It's too early to guess how Newton will pan out in Foxborough, but there are several reasons for optimism and several others for pessimism, if you're a Patriots fan. Here are 5 reasons why the Newton signing was a good move by the Patriots and 5 reasons why it may have been a bad one. Number 5, good. Upgrade over Stidham. We know how high Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are on Stidham, but I mean, there's little debating this. Cam Newton is simply better than Jarrett. When he's healthy. Keyword when. Newton is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. The man is 2-0 for his career against Bill Belichick. The greatest coach ever has even talked about how hard it is to prepare for Newton. Consider this quote from Belichick back in 2017. I think when you're talking about mobile quarterbacks, guys that are tough to handle, tackle, can throw, run, make good decisions, I mean, I would put Newton at the top of that list. Not saying that there aren't a lot of other good players that do that, but I would say of all the guys we play, or have played recently in the last couple years, I would definitely put him, he's the hardest guy to deal with. He makes good decisions, he can run, he's strong, he's hard to tackle. Not saying the other guys aren't a problem, because they are, but he's public enemy number 1. Another man that Belichick had 0 answers for gets to work with Belichick. Newton, a 3-time Pro Bowler, is arguably the greatest dual-threat quarterback ever, even if he's not 100% in 2020. Newton's overall skill set, his running abilities, and his experience make him a bigger threat to opposing defenses compared to Stidham. It's obviously a good signing when you land a starting caliber quarterback and former MVP, who could take over for your unproven second-year signal caller if he struggles. Number 5, bad. Little time to learn playbook or redesign the offense. It was a total Bill Belichick move to wait out the free agent quarterback market for 3 months before landing the 2015 MVP on a cheap 1-year deal. Full marks to the cap strap Patriots on landing Newton at a bargain price. At the same time, you have to ask yourself why the Patriots waited this long to sign him. Now, there simply is not enough time to have Cam learn the playbook. And how can Belichick and Josh McDaniels quickly shift their offense towards Newton's talents? With the preseason only weeks away, do they really expect Newton to grasp the playbook and completely take over the offense from here, when they've had more than a year to groom Stidham? And due to the COVID-19 pandemic, teams are extremely limited with their in-person offseason activities and practices. It just doesn't give Newton enough time to learn the complex offense that they run in Foxborough. So why not sign Cam earlier, Bill? Number 4, good. More time for Stidham to develop. Take a look at some of the greatest quarterback successions in NFL history. Joe Montana to Steve Young, Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, Kurt Warner to Mark Bulger. In the cases of Young, Rodgers, and Bulger, they had to sit behind a legend and learn from him. They waited and waited for their opportunities, and the patience paid off immensely. Now Stidham only had 1 year to learn from Tom Brady, and while Brady endured one of his worst seasons as a professional, who knows how ready Stidham really is? We will always believe that 90-something% of quarterbacks would shine under Belichick and McDaniels, but asking Stidham to jump in and succeed after 1 year as a backup in the NFL, that may be a bit much, at least for someone not named Tom Brady. If Newton takes over as the starter, it buys Stidham more time to develop. He'll have learned from 2 MVP quarterbacks in Tommy and Cam. Stidham won't have to rush into the starting role, and when the time comes, he'll be far more prepared to lead this offense. Doesn't hurt to have Newton in for 1 or 2 years before moving over to Stidham. It worked out for the Kansas City Chiefs when they used Alex Smith as the bridge for Patrick Mahomes. Number 4, bad. Doesn't show confidence in Stidham. On the flip side, yes, it's good to have a proven veteran who can lead for the time being. At the same time, signing Newton suggests that the Patriots aren't fully confident in Stidham, at least not right now. One can only assume that Belichick and McDaniels told Stidham it was his time to shine with Brady gone. Why else didn't the Patriots sign, draft, or trade for a big-name quarterback early in the offseason? Stidham is going to be professional and follow the Patriot way, even if Newton starts over him. But you can't blame Stidham if he's a little bit upset, and if his confidence takes a bit of a hit. The Pats were grooming him to take over. They chose to sign Newton. That's almost a nice way of saying to Stidham, well, maybe we aren't that sold on you after all. It's kind of like when the Green Bay Packers traded up to draft Jordan Love. What kind of message does that send to Aaron Rodgers? Hey, rather than win now with you, we're preparing for a future without you. Never a good idea to give mixed signals to your quarterback. Only time will tell how Stidham handles this, especially if Newton takes over as the starter. Number 3, good. Extends the Patriots' Super Bowl window. The Pats lost Tom Brady to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in free agency. Belichick decided not to pursue pursue any of the big-name free agent quarterbacks. This led many to believe that he was simply rebuilding, rather than try to squeeze out any remaining competitive window this agent group had left. I mean, you can't say you're trying to win now with a young and unproven Jarrett Stidham as your starter, but with Newton in the fold, it shows Belichick is intent on still trying to compete for Super Bowls, even if core players like Julian Edelman and Devin and Jason McCourty are getting a little old. This team has enough pieces to compete for a championship. Sony Michel is a solid young running back. Edelman is still a game changer. James White still comes through with the big catches out of the backfield. The defense, by the way, allowed the fewest points last season. The Pats won 12 games with a lackluster offense. Sorry, but 31-year-old Cam is better than 42-year-old Brady, even if 31-year-old Cam isn't 100% healthy. The AFC East is still a weak division. Only the Buffalo Bills are a threat. In the AFC, only the Kansas City Chiefs and Baltimore Ravens can safely be considered better teams than the Patriots with Newton. Who knows how much Newton has left in him, but if there's still something there, he's going to keep this rapidly closing Super Bowl window open for 1 or 2 more years. The Foxborough faithful will miss TB12, no doubt, but at least they can be excited about championship contention rather than be forced to watch a full-on rebuild in the post-Brady era. Number 3, bad. Not the best fit in New England's offense. It's easy to understand why everyone is excited about a Pro Bowl quarterback joining the Patriots, who are led by the greatest coach ever. But not every big-name star has succeeded with the Patriots. Chad Ochocinco, Josh Gordon, Michael Bennett were among the many star talents that just didn't fit in Belichick's complicated schemes and system. In Carolina, Ron Rivera completely built his offense around Newton. That was a run-first offense. Newton always had a capable 1,000-yard back with him, and he was never afraid to sling it to all corners of the field. In New England, McDaniels and Belichick are all about the short and quick passes, in favor of the deep shots. It's all about working the short to intermediate passing game with guys like Julian Edelman and James White. So is Belichick going to have Newton lead a heavy run-first offense, like Cam's used to? Or is he going to try and teach his new quarterback to look for more of the screens and short passes in the middle of the field? Ideally, the two sides would find a balance. Belichick would let Newton play his aggressive dual-threat style. At the same time, Newton would understand the need to take the simple and easy passes with fewer deep balls. If there's no happy medium, Newton probably won't be a good fit in New England's offense. Number 2, good. Gives New England's offense a new look. Again, on the other hand, if Newton is able to work in New England's offense, well then, the Patriots' offense wasn't its usual juggernaut in 2018 and 2019. The team relied more on its defense and a productive ground game to win their 6th Super Bowl in 2018. Without the top-scoring D in 2019, they wouldn't have won 12 games. No chance. But with Newton now in town, the Pats will have a new-look offense. As great as Brady was, he was far from a dual-threat QB. If Newton is the starter, defenses will have to account for his legs as well as his arms. The bag of tricks for McDaniels will be limitless here. Unlike Brady, with Newton, the Patriots can now run the read option, which has given NFL defenses the fits in recent years. The possibilities will be endless. No, we're not saying that Newton is better than Brady was in his prime years. We're just saying with Brady declining over the last 2 seasons, McDaniels and Belichick had a limited playbook. They could add 100 new different plays in the offense with Newton now. And hey, even if Stidham is the starter, who says Belichick can't use Newton in a Taysom Hill-like role? Again, the sky's the limit with what they can do with Newton. Number 2, bad. His health and injury history. Any athlete with a plethora of injuries in their 30s will always be a cause for concern. The second half of Newton's 2018 season was a huge letdown because of a nagging injury to his right throwing shoulder that later required surgery. A Lisfranc injury limited Newton to 2 games. He didn't perform well at all in weeks 1 and 2. The hope was that he would return later in the season, but Newton wound up being sidelined for the final 14 games. Newton's style of play will always put him at risk. He's fearless and not afraid to take extra hits for extra yards. But on the wrong side of 30, he's being asked to bounce back from back-to-back injury-ravaged seasons. And shoulder and foot surgeries are no joke. So what if Newton isn't fully healthy? What if he suffers another serious injury? Well, then people will say that the Pats should have signed a younger and healthier quarterback instead. That Newton is truly healthy and 100% again. But you can't just ignore the recent injury history. Number 1, good. Low-risk, high-reward move. At the end of the day, the Patriots have nothing to lose out of this, even if Newton never plays a snap for them. And he will. What's the problem with getting a former MVP and 3-time Pro Bowler on a modest 1-year pact? Belichick didn't sign Newton for the sake of it. That's not his MO. One way or another, he's going to make Newton a key part of the offense. And if it doesn't pan out, well, it was only for 1 year. He didn't pull off a Washington or Cleveland-like move by throwing a 4-year, $60 million deal at some scrub. Absolutely nothing to lose on this 1-year deal for a star quarterback. The Pats only have everything to gain with Newton. Number 1, bad. Newton's not a long-term option. Again, at the end of the day, Newton isn't a long-term option for the Patriots at quarterback. He's not that old for a quarterback by any means. But even if Newton plays lights out in Foxborough, you know Belichick will happily let him price himself out of Foxborough. Then another QB-needy team will swoop in and give Newton the long-term contract he'll be seeking in 2021 free agency. It's just not how Belichick operates. If Newton plays well, you'd still have to think that Belichick would follow his philosophy of getting rid of a veteran 1 year too early, rather than 1 year too late. Even if he wants Newton long-term, his injury history might not make that possible. So shouldn't Belichick maybe just roll with Stidham in an effort to begin transforming him into the Patriots' long-term quarterback? It just feels like this will only be a 1 year stop for Cam in Foxborough. And unless Belichick is fully planning to extend Newton if he plays well in 2020, what's the point of delaying the Stidham era? Only time will tell how this plays out. How do you think Cam Newton will perform with the Patriots? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. We are on everything. Go follow us, go find, go subscribe, go do everything. Subscribe to TPS. We post videos every single day. Every day's a new video. Like this video too if you liked it. It takes one click down below. And of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Biondo. I'll see you next time.